What is going on, everybody? It is your guy Tyler here, Mom's Basement MMA, and I'm really happy to this morning. Today is July 10th, 2021. We are on the day of Poirier versus Conor McNugget 3, and I'm really excited about that. I see that we all see who Tim is obviously going for. I'm going for the diamond, and Tim will owe me $1 after the diamond knocks him out. But I'm I'm really excited to have Tim here, and I'm excited to introduce him to people. He's a really special guy, and you'll agree with that once you get to know a little bit about who he is, where he has come from. So, introducing Tim Balogh. He is from Rocky Point, North Carolina. He is a 145-pound featherweight contender out of Lions Crest MMA. And Tim, you have a bout coming up next week. First I wanted to ask, like, how are you doing? And tell me how excited you are for your bout next week.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to get back in there and prove the wrong that I did in December. Honestly, at 45, I was kind of relaxed, like maybe too much, because like I just went in there guns blazing, and I honestly, in my head, I gave up and I lost it. But I have my fire back, like really good, and I correct the mistakes that I've made and still do to this day. But I know I will go in there and impose my will in terms of striking. I just plan to do it, just correct the wrong, but also have fun in there.
Well, you look excited, man, and I wanted to ask you a little bit, like, before we like dive deeper into your bout against Singletary. I wanted to ask, like, number one, like, obviously, I know people know you in North Carolina. I am very blessed that I have people that are listening to this show from all around the world. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got involved in mixed martial arts?
So when I was young, about when I was in middle school, my entire childhood, I wanted to be in the military. In particular, I wanted to be in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps, I just grew up wanting to be a soldier in life. And I carried that throughout my life. I still do in some way, because, you know, I was given a lot of like military hand-me-downs, and I carry it with me. And I just developed my own warrior code, and, you know, defending the weak, and, you know, not dealing with bullies and stuff like that. And up until high school was really the point where I was like, I need to prove that I can do this. And I did whatever I did. I went into my high school as JROTC. I did that for 3.5 years. And within that time frame, I became relatively known in the Raiders. For those who don't know what that is the backbone, that is the fitness team. You'll probably see them wear like the Army ACUs with the Raider patch. I have earned my Raider patch, not Ranger patch. So people don't think it's stolen valor or anything like that. But yeah, I did that. I did very well in that. And also I followed in my family's footsteps somewhat, because a lot of them did track and field. So I did track and field. I was a long distance runner, just like them. And I was able to go into the States with a very good team at the time. We won the 2013 state championship, with the idea to win it in 2014. But around that time, especially in 2014, when I was a senior and everybody else was seniors, everybody else developed senioritis. If you're not familiar with that, it's just being lazy. I still had that goal of wanting to pursue that. And that also kind of, it showed to me like I could care less about these team sports, because like nobody else cares. You could put in 100% and then somebody else will lack, but it would still kind of damage you in a way. But going back to the whole military thing, so I did all these things, and I became battalion commander in 2014. And that made local news, actually, because unless somebody wants to correct me, and nobody else has that yet, and I'm not bragging any way, shape, or form, that made local news because I was probably the first person on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, to become that. My JROTC instructor made that pretty known, and so I went to the Marine Corps recruiter that was there, and thing with recruiters, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what to say other than, like, they'll help you to a certain extent, but they're kind of looking out for themselves in a way. And it's just how it is. That's how I look at it, honestly, because like they'll be your buddy, and then like towards the end of it, it's like you're kind of on your own, which is, because it's like on to the next thing. That's just how I feel about them. But yeah, I went to the Marine Corps recruiter, and honestly, I was willing to keep my mouth shut in terms of like and you'll see what I mean by that. I mean by that because like my mom told me, it was like, you have to tell them that you're autistic. You're autistic. And I told them that I was, and I didn't really hear anything back from that recruiter. If anything, I saw like 3 other people that this recruiter recruited. And I was like, well, fuck you, whatever. So I went to a National Guard guy, or National Guard recruiter, I should say. And he was a pretty chill dude. And I had him, I strung along with him for about a year. And he was telling me, like, if I did good in the ASVAB, if you do good in the ASVAB, and if they do find out that you have it, then nobody can deny you, because like you'd probably be the smartest one there or something like that. And then, I went to MEPS, I took the ASVAB, I did the best I could. Apparently to their eyes, I just didn't pass. That was very hard for me. Right around this time, 2015, I work at my current job now at a metal factory. I wouldn't hear him for quite some time, because apparently up to this point, he's been telling me he's been in long ass meetings. So pretty much at that point, I was like, fuck you, I'm done with this. So I've had this longing to be a warrior. Like I honestly don't have any other calling. And if you take that away from me, then I'm really nothing. I don't know. It's just like, you can't deny anybody's like purpose in life. I don't know. Because I've been taught, like, it's all been screwed up, like education wise. Like I haven't been taught, I just haven't been taught like everybody else, which is sad. Because I'm taught, like, especially from where I'm from, there's a smart people class and there's a dumb people class. All my friends were in the smart people class, and in a way, they were able to get higher in life in education. I was put, not with a bunch of like, people on the spectrum or anything like that. I was put with like regular kids, but they had like either behavioral problems or learning problems, but mainly just like behavioral problems. So I've seen a lot of violence. Like when McGregor won his interim title, I've been to my gym before when I was in high school, but it's when I had my first girlfriend there, and that was the only reason why I was going. January 28th of 2017 is when I made my debut. And
I mean, that's so cool, man. Like, you touched on like 2 things that like, between myself and my wife, like, we could like have a conversation with you about 2 of those things. So I was in the Air Force for 6 years. So all that stuff that you're talking about, like just the recruitment process, going and taking like the test, and like getting poked and prodded in a doctor's office to see if you're fit for military service. I've done all that. And my wife is a teacher, and she has been a teacher for, golly, 15 plus years, and she has experience like with a wide pool of kids. And like, you're talking, like, hitting on education, like there's so many fucked up things with education, like limited resources, and just like there's a whole wave of politics and stuff to get into, but like a lot of the kids that she deals with, like they're underserved, like they don't have resources, and it's like one of those shitty type of situations where the teachers that do care, like the ones like the ones that are few and far between, like they really try to like bend over backwards and try to like, I won't say circumvent, but like try to do the best they can and then some for these kids. And a lot of teachers get so frustrated and burned out that they leave it altogether just because of the bureaucracy and politics of it. You know what's stupid is like Elon Musk has autism. Look what he's doing. Like, I don't claim to know a lot about autism, but I do know that, like, from my limited understanding of it, it's a developmental disorder of sorts, but it varies significantly. Like, on the far, far end of the spectrum, you have, you know, mostly boys, because autism mostly affects, like, young boys. At the far end of it, like, they may not even communicate, they may not have the ability to. Um, and then on like the left part of the spectrum, like some of the most like brilliant people on the planet have like Asperger's or are autistic. Like the most brilliant people on the planet, and like Elon Musk is one of them. So it's just pretty stupid to me that the military couldn't like look at you and like make a exception or like or waive do a waiver of sorts to like get you in, because um, I don't know. Like there are a lot of people just coming from the military and being a veteran. I could tell you it's weird that there are a lot of people that are in the service that you look at and you're like, how the fuck did you get here? And then there are other people that you look at that want to be in, and you're just like, why the fuck aren't you here?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's absolutely crazy. And I will say this: life has a funny way of working out. Like I had a dream that I was going to. So I enlisted in the Air Force, and I had a dream that I was going to get a commission and be an officer, right? That's what I wanted to do. So while everyone else was like partying and hooking up with girls and all other stuff, and that's not to say I was a choir boy, because I did all that stuff too. But I had a plan, man. Like I would work like 50, 60-hour weeks, and I would get off of a night shift, and I'd crack open a math book, and like I was going to school full time while I was in the military. I was the only one that I knew that was doing it, and um, it just didn't end up working out for me. Like I went through the process, and they're just like, no, it's not possible. You can't do that. And so I sat back and I'm like, why the fuck have I done all this work? Like somebody, there's got to be something that we can do. And they were like, sorry, dude, like no. And then I was like, well, then I'm leaving. And it hurt because I wanted to stay, but I was like, I'm not going to be able to like do what I want to do here, and so I'm gonna have to leave. Like, so I did. I left, and you know, things have worked out in my personal and professional life. I've moved on, and I've been able to be moderately successful. But I think it just goes to show you that you know, sometimes life has a funny way of working out. And so the military thing didn't work out for you, but had you gone into the military, what would have happened? Like, would you be able to go into like mixed martial arts? Would you be able to potentially go into Bellator or the UFC? Probably not. So it just, life has a funny way of working out, man. And I would just encourage you, like, you can be a warrior. You obviously are, and you embody a lot of like that warrior ethos, and you can make probably a bigger difference in the lives of others by doing exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's when I come to the realization of, uh, obviously, I wanted to be infantry. That's what I wanted. I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight for what I believe in, especially in the soil that we are on. I would have loved, especially now. I wish I would have been a ranger. What would have been the consequences of? What would have been the consequences, like the aftermath of it? Would I have gone? Would I have got out of there like okay? Would I have got out there, you know, with like hopefully nothing like super serious? You know, you never know. So I've come to the realization of that is like, you know, I'm glad that in a way, I'm glad it didn't happen, because I don't know what would have been the outcome in terms of like leaving and stuff like that. Because I was okay. I was okay with the fact of dying out there. I was okay with that fact of dying for what I believe in and stuff like that. That wasn't the issue. Definitely the issue would have been like, if I would have made it out there alive, what would have been the next thing?
Yeah, and I would like, obviously I'm not trying to compare mixed martial arts to like combat. I wouldn't do that. But at the same time, would you agree like you still kind of have to
No.
have that same mentality doing what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Because who knows what the hell could happen? You could go in there and crack your neck, or you could go in there and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
something. And I guess what I'm trying to say is you could get in there, and if you don't die, you might walk out of that cage or get dragged out of that cage, and you'll never be the same. So you kind of almost have to. Would you agree, for someone who's never fought like me, that in a way you kind of have to like make peace with like your own mortality before you even go into the cage for every single one of your fights?
absolutely.
I mean, that's got to be like mentally. I think that just shows like how you're able to like your mental fortitude has got to be like the most important thing about being a fighter. Like if you don't have it squared away up here, I don't know how you could do what you do. I wanted to ask you, you hit on a few things that I wanted to dive deeper in. You started your amateur career in 2017, and you were on a roll, man. Like you were just chewing through guys. Can you tell me a little bit about your fighting style? Like I know there's some tape on you that's like on the interwebs and whatnot, but for people who haven't seen you fight, can you tell us a little bit like what is your game? Like what is your discipline? You kind of have an unusual story of how you got into it. So like as you're training and going through all this stuff and knowing that you want to fight, did you gravitate toward like one of the disciplines like wrestling or striking? Can you tell us a little bit about that and your fighting style?
Yeah. So my gym is primarily, they focus way more into jujitsu. They do have kickboxing. They're really good at teaching kickboxing and stuff like that. Um, so my 3 wins have been from submission. The second one was out of pure luck, actually, because because that was the first time I actually pulled a triangle on the guy. But yeah, it's mainly a jujitsu. I would say, honestly, especially now, my style has gravitated with like Brazilian jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and just a smidge of Muay Thai in there. That's what I try to do. And with I have like I may copycat, like especially in sparring, I may copycat a few things that I see from like other fighters. Obviously, in particular with this guy that I'm wearing on my shirt. Not always, but sometimes, because it can work and then it sometimes can't work. So I imitate from other people. Anthony Smith, you may know him, and a few other ones I can think of.
Man, I love Anthony Smith. Don't even get me started on that guy. Oh my gosh. I'll just say, if you guys haven't seen my, this was not scripted. Tim brought this up on his own. If you haven't checked out my video I did with Anthony Smith, be sure to do that. He is, I guess why I like Anthony Smith so much is because it has nothing to do with him like fighting or his fighting style. It's his mentality and just how he carries himself. I think that he's a very genuine dude, and he just has that like warrior mentality that not everybody has. Like he is like, don't even think about calling any of my fights. Don't throw in the towel. I will die out there. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like that guy is super chill and super. He's a guy that you would have over at your house for a barbecue or a beer, but like when you put him in that cage, he is not. He's the complete opposite. So I'm glad that you mentioned him, and I would say. So we talked about Conor McGregor and Anthony Smith. Are there any other fighters that you try to like that you look at and maybe like, I don't know if I would say the word like emulate, but like, is there somebody that you think stylistically you're similar to?
My inspiration in martial arts is George St. Pierre. I looked at him as a role model. One particular thing I have done in the past, he does a really nice Superman punch. and I've been able to land in certain situations. So yeah, and the way that he grapples and stuff like that, I have tried to do similar things to that nature. A lot of times I will kind of do my own thing and my own movement. I tend to be like a spider monkey in the grappling in certain situations. But yeah, I've looked up to mainly him as an inspiration in a lot of certain things that he does as well.
That's awesome. So can we talk about 2017? So you get on the AMI scene, you go undefeated, and you're just choking these dudes out left and right, and now we go on a skid. Can you tell me a little bit, like when you look at like the 3 losses that you've taken, what have you learned from those things? Because there's a lot to look at, and I'm sure like you're probably really intense, and like you kind of strike me as the guy that you're probably going to be like your own worst critic, and like when you do something really well, you automatically strike me as a guy that would kind of shrug it off like it wasn't that great. But if you do something that's not so well, it's the opposite. Like you're like, man, that was complete trash, and people are just like, Tim, it really wasn't that bad. Like you need to like chill out and relax. And you strike me as that kind of type just by in the brief amount of time I've shared with you. Can you tell me a little bit about, walk me through 2017? You tap these guys out, you go on a skid. What's your mentality like? And how did you evolve from as a fighter? And what have you learned from those defeats?
Right. 2017, I felt on top of the world. I felt like I was ready. After my 3rd win, I told my MMA coach, he's no longer there. Nothing bad, just like he has a child and he has a job, so he kind of did his own thing. I still appreciate his advice from once in a while. But yeah, I was on top of the world, and my 3rd win, I was like, I want a title shot. And I was given a title shot leading up to my 4th appearance, or 4th fight. It was just the lead up of it. I was in a bad headspace at the time. Just like nothing seemed going right for me. It just, I was just not in the right headspace. And then, so I felt like I kind of, I don't know, a lot of the times when, especially my 1st loss and 3rd loss, I feel like I kind of just gave them that because I was just, well, let me rephrase that. My 1st and 2nd loss, I felt like I kind of just gave them that. I don't know how to put it, but it like at the time, I'm just not in the right headspace. And then the 2nd loss, I was also not in the right headspace, but I did a lot better in terms of like I didn't get knocked out, because the guy was about, like, you've seen it, after the 3 nut shots that the motherfucker did to me.
Yeah, that guy, he might be a nice guy out of the cage. I don't know anything about him, but he fights like an asshole. And for the edification for those who haven't seen the fight, can you remind me who the guy was, the dirty fighter that we're referencing? What's his name?
Colin Scott. I can't remember his name.
That's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Something like that.
So, yeah, if you guys want, check out that fight. I will tell you, it's a slot fest. Tim's opponent, I'm shocked that he didn't get a point deduction, and I would even go as far as to say I'm surprised that he wasn't disqualified. Like, that's how egregious it was. It was not a good fight, and I felt like every single time that you were about to like build momentum and do something would happen that would take away all of that momentum. And like, imagine getting like blasted in the balls, right? And it's like, okay, a couple seconds, okay, now go back and fight. Like, I don't care what anybody says, like, that's just not gonna happen. You're not going to like recover from that, even wearing the protective gear that you wear. Like, that hurts, and that you're not going to be the same.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, is because like there was going to be an attempt to take points away, but I think we got into some type of clinch, and I happened to hit him in the nuts, so that was kind of a payback.
I would have hit him in the nuts too. Like, you weren't that mad the first time. Like, you're like, okay, shit happens, but like the third time, like you were, I'm not gonna say you were pissed, but I could tell like it took a lot for you to like keep your composure and to like not wig out because I would have wigged the fuck out like straight up. But you acted like a professional, and I could tell that you were super like kind of irritated. So you hit on a few things. Your headspace isn't right, going through a slump, and now all of a sudden now we're talking about getting out of 2017 and moving into 2018 and 19. Then the pandemic hits. Gyms are shutting down all over the country. I live in Virginia, not that far away from you, and I've spoken to a couple of fighters that are in my state, and they're telling me like we're talking about like people having to like do some pretty creative stuff to kind of get around the rules to even stay active. Can you talk a little bit, Tim, about what was 2018 and 2019 for you like, particularly when the pandemic hit? Did that have a impact on your mixed martial arts career?
Yeah. So after my second loss, I took a year off. Yeah, I took a year off. Yeah, December of 2018, and I decided to take 2019 off completely, and kind of just like refocus on what I needed to do, what I needed to fix, and stuff like that. I was able to go to 8 Point Muay Thai, and not in Charlotte, but it's like around about an hour or two away from there. Good guys there to learn a bit of their Muay Thai abilities and stuff like that. Went there for a week. And along the way, I had to fix some problems I had, personally in my life. I've cut certain people off because of it, for the greater good. And and then during one time in training, I broke my leg during training. It was bad, but it was in like, luckily I didn't need surgery. So I was out for about 2.5 months. And then this was up to 2019, yeah, towards the end of 2019 when this was happening, during that year off I was taking. And then I accidentally got myself into a car accident that I caused. I was just, granted, it was an old lady who didn't know how to drive. But you still have to pay attention to the road and stuff like that because it's that. But yeah, and then I was in New York for the 2019 to December, visiting family. A lot of my family's there, and it was also the last time I was in New York. I like beginning of January when I was still there for like the last few days there. Just and like things were shutting down and stuff like that. I was still working. I still had my full-time job working, and then and obviously by whatever stuff was going on, we were able to find some loopholes, but to be able to train a little bit. But for the most part, we were just playing it by ear, and I kind of took it as like a kind of taking just to decompress and like take time for myself. And I did. It would be like getting up in the morning, go to work, and then come home. And then this was before like we were allowed to kind of semi make it back to the gym. So I did gain a bit of weight. I was in 160, something like that. I was probably the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I've been walking around at 35 for 4 years of high school. And then obviously I've grown up now, and I walk around like in the 40s and 50s, unhealthy. And so when I made the call to go into Battlegrounds at 45, it was mainly because I didn't want to like really dehydrate myself and stuff like that. In a way, it was okay for me because I would get ring rust out and stuff like that. But really, I'm a 35er for the most part, and listen, man, listen, I'm a picky eater. I'm a very picky eater. My diet consists of primarily meat and whatever else, like plain stuff and all that type of jazz. I'll eat some fruits and vegetables. I'll eat like apples and carrots. Like that's probably the only thing I'll probably add to my diet. And obviously I had to cut fast food up to prior to this, fight. So, and I I feel great now and stuff like that. But going back to the 45 fight, like I was there, my mental game was there and everything like that. You know, like we were doing all the right things. Everything seemed to be put together. I just got excited. That's really what it was. I just got excited and then I panicked. And then, I mean, that's all it was. Not to take anything away from the guy. The guy was a stud guy. He seems like a lot cooler than the guy that hit me in the nuts. But yeah, it was just a panic, and I just didn't feel like my cardio was there at that time. But I took it anyway, and and then I'm glad I kind of like they were doing like they were already doing another event, and right when they were about to, I think it was either February or March. I asked in March, I was like, hey, I'll be good for July. Get me on the July card if you can. And they were like, cool, we'll let you know. And then it happened to be a 35 fight. I thought they were going to give me a rematch, which I would have been okay with. But I think I needed to be back at 35. I needed that really, really bad. Because I did have, I was dating a girl at the time during my last loss. And it was long distance. It didn't really work out. And she was kind of like telling me that was like, you just feel comfortable. You feel comfortable for where you're at. And I was to an extent, because I was wanting to train, I was wanting to fight, but I was trying to play it smart. I was just trying. That's how I do this. Like I'm trying to play this smart in terms of like not to get hurt as bad and stuff like that. But that set me off right when it ended. That set me off to be like, okay. And then I heard 35 and I was like, I will fucking take that and I will do whatever is necessary to. I wore sweats, I wore long sleeves. I got back into shape, and I had my strength and conditioning coach and we just went to work, and that's we're up to this point pretty much.
So you're fighting next week. We hit on that at the very beginning, and I wanted to ask, what's your mind like now? Like you look really excited. Like you look like you can't wait to get out there and get another W under your belt. So how have you prepared for this guy, and what are your thoughts on your opponent in general?
My thoughts about my opponent are about the same as everybody else. I don't care. I don't care about your record or anything like that. I am aware that whether you have a good record or a bad record or whatever in between, you're dangerous. Obviously, you took this because you may be the dangerous person in the area, and I am fully aware of that, and I will not take that away from anybody. My sources have told me that he is a bit of a brawler. These are just sources, so I can't really confirm or deny that. Maybe he is. Judging by the record that I've seen, it shows that I think I know what I'm dealing with. I plan to go in there calculated and just moving forward. Just taking my shots, making sure I do everything right, and also to have fun, of course. But I need to make a statement. That's what I need to do. That's what I feel like I need to do. Like everybody else, I feel like ripping the head off and showing it to everybody. I have my flag with me, and I will represent it proudly. And my flag is the assassin symbol, by the way.
That's dope. Do you think okay, so if your opponent is a brawler and you are coming without giving anything away, of course, do you believe that you have a massive advantage over him, particularly on the ground?
Yes, I do believe I do. But then again, I don't know. I honestly don't.
So yeah, I mean, like my thought process, like if I were you, and if I were coming from like a BJJ gym, like obviously who am I? I'm just a dude that likes to watch fights. But like as a dude that likes to watch fights, I would just be like, if homie gets taken down, like he's fucked. Like it's gonna be a rough night for him. So I won't ask you too much about it because I certainly don't want to give any fodder out there or put out any information that might put you at a disadvantage. But I'm really excited for it. It's going to be in South Carolina, not that far away from where you live. And after you beat this guy, like what's next for you? How long? Like, have you thought at all about? I'm sure you get this question a billion times. Like, when is the time going to be right to go pro, or are you like content to stay on the AMI scene for a little bit longer?
I tend to stay on the AMI scene until I win a championship. That's when I know I feel like I'm ready to make it to the big league. In terms of what I want to do in the future, I love, like, in certain aspects, I love where I work. I love the people there, but if people from my work see this, I don't really care. Especially if they're anybody higher up, I don't care. They can let me go or anything like that at this point. I don't care. They've been doing some things I'm not really happy about. It's good money, but obviously it could be a lot better. But I want to be able to have more time to train and fight. So I need to start looking at other options. And the other options are not to get another job. I'm sure it is. I mean, for some people, if you're able to, but it has something to do with like the work schedule. Like I go to work at 6 and then come home at 3:30. And then my training will start at 6:30 at night to either 7:30 or 8:30 at night. So I would like to have more time to myself to like decompress and stuff like that. So I would like to get, like, I talked to my gym about possibly teaching or becoming a personal trainer there. Hopefully see what we could do with that, because I do gravitate a lot in striking, but obviously it could be a lot better. My phone, you're standing right, or my phone is right where my whole PC gaming setup is, pretty much. So I would like to get into some form of fashion of like streaming games and stuff like that, because that is like one of my other passions. But it has to pay the bills. So I'm not gonna like obviously jump ship from what I'm doing right now. When I feel the time is right, I'll be able to do that. But yeah, once I get a championship.
Do you have any, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, so we get the AMI championship, and then that'll give you that sort of like validation, like, okay, I'm ready to like move on. Like, are there any like specific things? Because I've talked to a few AMIs and they're just like, honestly, I don't really care where I go, just so long as I go, like, I would be happy going to like Combate. I would be happy going with like Fury or any one of those ones. Like, is there a particular promotion that you already have in your mind, or are you just kind of a little more open-minded as to what your pro career might start off with?
Yeah, well, my goal since starting this is to be the first person on the spectrum to win world titles in anywhere. It could be UFC, it could be Bellator, it could be one championship. So it doesn't really matter. If they want me, they want me. If they don't, they don't. I'm an open book in terms of like where they want to put me.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic, man, and I think you've already won, and I think you've already accomplished more than like what most people dream of doing. You never have to fight again, and you've already put out a really good example, particularly for children that do have special needs that are told probably their entire life, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, and look at you. You're doing stuff that, like, quote unquote, normal people can't do. Like, I can't do what you do, but I'm not normal. I'm fucked up and weird and twisted. But you know what I'm trying to say. Like, you're doing something that a microfraction of the population can do. So, like, I'm sure you've been told your entire life. You were told by the military, like, oh, sorry, you can't do this. And I'm sure growing up, you were told similar things. And now, like, you're in a position where you would tell like the rest of the masses, like, no, you can't do what I do. And I think that's pretty fucking cool, man.
I appreciate
that.
Tell me, before I let you go, I have to ask this question. Why do you think Conor McGregor is going to win tonight? Because obviously you're a fan.
So,
Uh,
uh,
obviously I would like McGregor to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dustin picked up the win as well. So I'm content with that. Like, especially when the second fight they fought, I was just like, oh, cool, man. That's that's how I look at it. I never try to be like I pick one guy, especially because they're both my favorite. But
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I've seen, just from like my own end, like, it's one thing to be like just a fan and like a spectator, but it's not to say like I'm like an insider, because I'm not. I'm just a dude that has a show. But at the same time, it's like I've been fortunate enough to meet fighters from all over, and there was a situation. If people can figure it out, great. I'm not gonna really talk about it, but there have been two different times where I've had fighters that are following my page that are like fighting each other, and it's like, oh fuck, like it's just like that's kind of awkward. But it's interesting, like, you kind of having a show like this, like the preparation that it takes, like the breakdowns. I'm not saying it like makes you less of a fan, but like it makes you like look at things in a different way. So like I think I kind of have a similar mentality to you. Don't get me wrong. Not when it comes to McGregor though. I can't stand that guy. He just gets under my skin. But that's just me. I think the Diamond is going to. I think it'll look very similar to the second bout. I think Conor McGregor is going to be really aggressive. I think he's going to give Dustin a run for his money, particularly in the first. But what I like about Dustin is if he can sustain that, and it's not to say that Conor can't knock him out, because he can knock anybody out. He's a beast. If he can get out of the first, I'm pretty certain, bearing some sort of freak injury, I'm pretty sure that Dustin will figure out a way. I think the fight will get down to the ground, and I think Dustin's gonna choke him out. That's my prediction. Yeah. I'm a fan of Dustin Poirier. I think he's a great guy. But I'm more importantly, man, I'm a fan of you. I really appreciate you being on my show, and I hope that after you win, you can come back and tell me about what you were happy with as far as your performance goes. And I'm just really excited to have been able to do this with you and to do it again soon.
Thank you, man.
Tim, before I let you go, how can people find you on social media? And can you tell us a little bit, if you're in the Carolinas or in that vicinity, and if people are interested in going to your fight next Saturday, how could they do that?
Yes, so so they can find me on Instagram. It is the Celtic Assassin _MMA. I don't post that much because I think you kind of said, like, you kind of had to be a businessman, and in terms of social media, I'm pretty shit at it. So there'll be times where I will post things, but it's not that much. But I have the link of tickets, and I believe, now don't quote me on this, because like this is whatever they're doing, because they've done this before. I think that's also a pay-per-view link for anybody that can see it as well. So, but you'll be able to get like tickets from the link that I have in the bio on there. Same thing for Facebook, and Ultimate Battlegrounds 8. There, whatever number it is. I can't really keep up.
It's 8. I will definitely hook that up. And when you are watching this show, the link to buy tickets from Tim, I will have that in the description in YouTube. So please be able to check that out. Please click on that and hook him up if you're in the area. And as far as the pay-per-view stuff, I will put that on my page as well as soon as that information becomes available. Tim, the Celtic Assassin, man, thank you so much for being here. And let's do this again soon, brother.
Yes,